Oh, I'm coming out of the screen. That's right. Friday the 13th, part 3 in 3D. So, to start things off, to get the ball rolling on this review, I'm not going to be necessarily doing a review on the movie per se. I will talk about the movie in small segments, but I'm going to be more talking about the 3D in the film and if it is worth your time and money and if the 3D is any good, of course. So, yeah, to get the ball rolling here, I just want to state up front that you don't need a complicated setup to view this movie. You don't need a 3D player. You don't need a 3D capable TV. You don't need the 3D glasses that come with it because that costs like $1,000 to purchase already. Like all you need for this film is it's a very quick and simple process. All you need is a Blu-ray capable player, and I believe the DVD version of this film also comes with the 3D. So, yeah, if you have a DVD or a Blu-ray player, you will have access to the 3D version of this film. But yeah, all you need to view this movie is just these red and blue Scion glasses, and then you are all set. You don't need to go out and spend $1,000 on equipment that won't really come in handy to view this movie. So, Friday the 13th Part 3. So, this movie was released at a time when a lot of horror franchises were getting the 3D treatment, such as Jaws 3D, Amityville 3D, and there's even a 10-minute sequence in Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy's Dead The Final Nightmare near the end of that film that has a very short 3D segment of that movie. That movie was not filmed in 3D besides that little portion that you see in it. But I don't believe you can access the 3D of that film now. At least not that I know of. There might be a copy out there that is made for 3D plays, but at least the copy I have in front of from what I've researched, you can't actually find or locate any copies of Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. But don't take my word for it. If there is a copy out there, please send me the link in the description. So in the comment section below description. What the fuck am I talking about? Um, so yeah, most horror franchises have got the 3D treatment at this point, and so it was bound to happen with all the horror titles that were getting the 3D treatment. It was bound to happen that Jason would get the 3D treatment, and we finally got that in what it is to me one of the best titles in the entire franchise. I love the title of this movie, Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D, or as I like to call it, Friday the 13th Part 3D. Yeah, I don't know, this title just has always gravitated towards me more. I've just found it such a funny title. I mean, I love titles, like Jason Lives, like Jason Takes Manhattan, even though that sounds like a ridiculously good time. We know how that movie turned out. Yeah, not the best results in the franchise, but yeah, moving on from that. Um, so yeah, this was a movie that I've always enjoyed. I've enjoyed this whole franchise really. There's not really one movie I dislike. Even like the worst of the worst have had their moments. I can't say that they're good movies, but you know, at least they have Jason in them. Besides Jason Goes to Hell, which Jason's in that for like 10 minutes in the opening before he gets blown to a fucking smithereens. So, yeah, moving on from all that, yeah, let's get back on track. So, Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. So, yeah, let's jump right into the 3D of this film. So, I sat down this afternoon and I watched Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D in the way that it was meant to be seen to audiences. Because if you watch this film in 2D, a lot of the 3D gags don't look good. It comes across as silly and on the nose. But when you watch it in 3D, it all comes full circle. It all makes sense to you. And like that's what I love about this movie. Like the way it's meant to be experienced is definitely in 3D. That's definitely the way to see and experience this movie. So if you do have a chance to ever see this movie in 3D, I highly recommend it. Or if you find a copy of Friday the 13th Part 3, please check out the 3D. My highest recommendation for this movie is to definitely buy the Blu-ray transfer of this film, because I think the high definition definitely does add a lot to the overall experience of the film. But you're watching the 3D film, a lot of the 3D gags work really well. There are some cheap ones which I'll get to in just a second, but yeah, there are a lot of great 3D gags that work really well on screen, and the 3D, it looks very pure. There's a lot of effort, and there's even a featurette on here that talks about filming this movie in 3D called Fresh Cuts 3D Terror, where the team behind this sit down and talk about why they made that decision, and they show us some behind the scenes footage, and it's a very interesting featurette on the Blu-ray here. So yeah, some of the 3D gags that work really well in the film is the eye popping scene. Is when that guy's head gets squished and then his eyeball comes out at the screen. That looked amazing. Another one is when Jason gets the axe towards the head and he walks towards the camera at the end of the film. That looked absolutely fantastic. So yeah, a lot of the 3D gags in this film work really well and are really effective. But then there are some cheap ones. Saying that as well, one of the ones that come to mind is the snake jump scare, where what is it? The snake like ate the bunny rabbits and all that. It's within the first like 20 minutes of the film, and yeah, when that snake popped out, it didn't look realistic. It didn't look good. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, that was a 3D gag that I felt was very weak. Another one of my favorite gags of the film is when the harpoon gets shot by Jason on the deck. I thought that looked incredible in 3D, and these were all scenes that were shot with 3D as the main intention, and and it definitely shows here. But then also the depth of the film. Like, this film has a great level of depth. You can see way further than watching this film in 2D. It makes you feel as you are a part of Camp Crystal Lake. The movie does a really fantastic job at making you feel like you are one of the counselors here, making you feel like you are at Camp Crystal Lake. And a lot of this does come with the terrific depth transfer, that this film made. And this is one of the best Blu-ray 3D transfers I think I have ever seen. This is the best, honestly, that Friday the 13th will ever look. Because when you watch it, you are just constantly stunned. Because I've seen a lot of like Scion, colored glasses, 3D films in my life. I know there's a term for it. I just can't think of it. Analytical 3D, I think. I don't know. And yeah, this one is certainly not one of them. This is one of the best transfers of a 3D film I have seen. Like, I've seen, like the Final Destination in 3D. I've seen My Bloody Valentine in 3D, and as much as the transfers of them don't look too bad, it's nothing compared to this. This is like the best This is the best Jason will ever look in 3D, and I believe as of right now, this is the only Friday the 13th film that was actually released theatrically in 3D. But yeah, there's not really much else to really add to the 3D here. So yeah, I've talked about the depth, I've talked about all the 3D gags. Just, excuse me. Uh, just to elaborate more on the depth of this film, like there's multiple layers to this film when you watch it in 3D. Like all of the landscapes, they are just so vibrant and in your face, and it really makes you just feel a part of this story. There are a few shots where the 3D does not look great, but it looks good. So, but then most of the time, the 3D in this film, it is a fantastic addition to the Friday the 13th franchise, and I think the Blu-ray transfer, I think that would have definitely helped to really make everything kind of come together in a very nice bow. No pun intended there. And just yeah, this I like. I don't want to I don't want to talk for longer than I should. I don't want to repeat myself, by saying that Friday the 13th Part 3 looks great in 3D. Like I've already said that like what is it like fucking 8 times at this point. So yeah, so I think I'm just gonna end this review off by saying that I highly recommend it to anyone to check out Friday the 13th in 3D. That's the way it's meant to be. Yeah, I cannot speak for shit today. Wow. That's the way that this movie is meant to be seen. There we go. Second time the charm. Yeah, 3D is definitely the way to experience this film. It's the way it was always intended as, and I believe if you do buy this film, I believe it does come with 3D glasses. Like I know my copy of the film did not come with any 3D glasses, so I had to use ones that I had on standby. But yeah, it comes with the disc there. And there's some special features on here. Legacy of the Mask, slasher films going for the Juggler, Lost Tales from Camp Blood Part 3, and then Fresh Cuts 3D Terror, which I would definitely recommend that feature because I think that's one of the most interesting special features on this disc. So yeah, anyways, please pick up Friday the 13th Part 3 if you come across a copy, or if you have seen Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. Please let me know down in the comment section down below. What did you think of it? Did you think it was a worthy transfer? I certainly did. And can you see the Friday the 13th franchise, if any more films ever get made, do you see them going into a 3D, in making another Friday the 13th film in 3D? Let me know all of your speculation and theories down in the comment section down below. So anyways guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening or night, wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, bye.